Welcome to the Seminole Electric Generating Station. Seminole is committed to supplying our 1.5 million customers with a reliable and economical source of electrical power, but it's imperative that we do that in an environmentally responsible manner. We all must work to the highest ethical and professional standards, and certainly you will be required to do so. The purpose of this video is to provide to you an idea of what those rules are so that when you go through your day-to-day job processes, that you know how to respond to those rules. I would encourage you to pay very close attention to the content of this video, because you will be held accountable for that.
Safety for people and the environment is the #1 priority at Seminole Electric. We have divided this video program into 3 parts: pre-job briefing, action during the job, cleanup after the job. We use many different types of potentially hazardous materials on our site. It's critical that we know about every material that may be used on a job and how to properly dispose of waste material. It is the employee's responsibility to be aware of the hazards of materials that are to be used on a job. This means every employee has the responsibility of being familiar with what is contained on the Materials Safety Data Sheets, MSDS, for materials that you'll use prior to starting the job. MSDS information is stored in MSDS Viewer software and can be found on most computers at the Seminole Generating Station. State and federal rules require proper disposal of all empty containers, rags, cleanup materials, and any waste created during the job. Your supervisor will discuss how to dispose and recover all hazardous materials, including paints, solvents, cleaners, sandblast material, human waste, and wastewater. The Palatka Hazard Communication Program is located in our administration building or can be viewed on the SECI intranet site. If requested, we will provide you with copies of material safety data sheets for hazardous materials in the area where you are working. If you need additional information, ask your supervisor.
Pre-planning and knowing the rules will make your job safer and easier. You must follow the rules. If you have any questions, please ask your supervisor.
There are a number of important environmental requirements you must follow during the job. Here are some of the most important rules. Be familiar with Seminole's Emergency Response Plan, which provides guidelines to reporting all spills or leaks. All spills, leaks, or releases, no matter how small, must be reported to the Unit 1 control room operator immediately. Appropriately trained personnel must contain and initiate cleanup procedures. All employees must use the staging area assigned for the job. During the job, you must maintain the work area in a neat and orderly fashion. Employees must maintain all work and storage areas daily to ensure good housekeeping practices. First in, first out is our policy. This means you must use the oldest materials on hand first. When you add additional stock to your storage area, place the new stock at the back. The oldest stock moves to the front to ensure usage before expiration. If the Seminole warehouse does not have an item for your job, it is the employee's responsibility to complete the required paperwork to start the process for approval of a new product. All products must be approved before the products arrive on site. Pollution prevention includes capturing and properly disposing of all wastes. Here are examples of good disposal action. Each disposal drum is used for a different material. Each drum is labeled for a specific material. Always dispose of materials in the proper container. Here are good examples of sandblasting containment and recovery. Here are examples of properly stored materials. Paints, like all other hazardous material, must be neatly stacked with all lids tightly closed. The paint cans stacked beside the barrels are not properly stored. Cleaning chemicals, like other chemicals, must be clearly labeled. The Palatka Hazard Communication Program has a detailed description of container labeling requirements. When secondary containers are used, the containers must be labeled with the following information: name of the material as stated on the MSDS, manufacturer's name and address, whether the material is a carcinogen. Hand washing is restricted to hand washing stations. Do not use hoses or hose bibs which flow to the ground. Use of sanitary facilities does not include disposal of chemicals. No waste chemical or any other materials are to be dumped in the porta-johns or any other toilet facility. If degreasers are required to perform a job or cleanup, the citrus-based degreaser Sea-Solve is recommended. Waste generated from Sea-Solve is not hazardous and should be placed in a used oil drum. Do not dispose of any solvent-bearing oil except Sea-Solve in these drums. Other types of approved waste disposal include waste material designated for off-site must be approved by the Environmental Compliance Department before such material is removed from our plant site. Plant security will not allow waste material to leave the plant site without written approval. Waste scrap metal must be placed in roll-off dumpsters, which are located in designated areas. Any excess oil or grease must be removed from scrap metals before placing in the dumpsters. Scrap wood must be placed in separate roll-off dumpsters also located in designated areas. Spent sandblast or bead blast media generated from blasting operations must be stored in package drums. If large quantities are generated, this waste must be placed in a covered dumpster. Spent media must be swept up and put in proper containers daily. Do not discard materials in the wrong container. All used rags are to be disposed of in 55-gallon drums with fireproof lids which are placed in designated areas and labeled as used rags. All empty, full, or partially empty aerosol spray cans are to be placed in 55-gallon drums with fireproof lids which are located in designated areas. These drums are labeled as aerosol cans for recycling. As a safety precaution, caps and nozzles must be removed from cans prior to disposal in designated drums. Used flammable solvents must be returned to the original container. If this is not possible, contact the Environmental Compliance Department immediately for directions on proper packaging. Used oil, waste grease, or used antifreeze must be disposed of in designated 55-gallon drums. Household-type trash shall be placed in designated containers. If you are in doubt about how to dispose of any waste, contact the Environmental Compliance Department for instructions. After the job is complete, site restoration is the employee's responsibility. All workstations and material storage areas are to be restored to their original state. This includes but is not limited to grading areas to original grade and applying seed or sod to ensure grass growth returns.
It's everyone's responsibility to keep our plant environmentally safe. Rules apply to you, me, and to everyone else on our plant site. There are 3 key points you must remember. 1, before you start any job, we expect the employee to know the hazards of the materials that are required. 2, during the job, we require environmentally safe work. Put waste material in the proper disposal containers. Report any spill or leak, however small. If you're not sure what to do, ask your supervisor. 3, after the job is complete, we require a complete cleanup.
We've covered a lot of material in this video, and I would encourage you, if you have any questions, to talk to your supervisor. And thank you again for your attention.